Hello, my name is Stefan Sweeple, and I am doing the video log for the Psych 201 course. This is for I believe, our fifth week assignment. So in this assignment, the prompts are describe what social psychology concept you are choosing. Example given: conformity, obedience, altruism, persuasion, etc., and how you see it manifested in the film or book that you chose. So, for the purposes of this discussion and this assignment, the reference material that will be used will be our weekly reading material. I believe I can go to it here. It's Principles of Social Psychology by Andy Schmitz, or Schmitz. And the concept we'll be discussing today is morality beliefs. And morality beliefs are pretty straightforward. So when you're looking at morality beliefs, it's essentially the set of norms that we see as being right and wrong. So Andy Schmitz defines morality beliefs, and this is verbatim, as a set of social norms that describe the principles and ideals as well as the duties and obligations that we view as appropriate and that we use to judge the actions of others and guide our own behavior. Essentially, what it boils down to is what we think is right or wrong and where we fall into the world. That kind of boils down morality beliefs. The next question from our assignment is going to be describe the social psychological concept. So we see this in many things, from day-to-day operations to just driving. Some people will get road rage when they see that the social norms or their beliefs of what right and wrong are upheld or they're not upheld. And sometimes people get road rage in the road because what in their mind what should be happening, what ought to be happening, is not happening. To me, it's pretty far stretching from a standpoint of a military point of view. We have the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which prescribes to us which regulations and what to follow. Not necessarily what to believe, but what is black and white, right or wrong. And when somebody doesn't follow those regulations, to me, that is immoral. So what does it mean? How is it studied in the field of social psychology? So we're looking at moral beliefs in the reading from the standpoint of looking at establishing norms and the cultural impacts that it can have. Essentially, that there's social conventional morality, which I'm not going to quote verbatim, but it's essentially just following the norms that are within society. There's social conventional norms, which are, hey, you should essentially, you should give to the poor, you should do volunteer work, you ought to pay taxes, things like that. And those are more culturally impacted than the harm-based morality that we see on a day-to-day basis. Harm-based is basically, the idea that we shouldn't harm somebody or murder somebody along those lines. And what have we learned about it this semester? Well, essentially from the reading, I never really thought about morality in terms of I always thought about morality in terms of being morally absolute, which is black and white, no matter who you are, where you are, what time it is. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And cultural relativism, which is in different cultures, there's different bounds and boundaries for right and wrong. In terms of this semester's learning, with that in particular, so looking at the social conventional and the harm-based morality, that is something new that I have learned. I always thought they were lumped together, but in social psychological terms, they are different. Moving on. So, briefly describe the film or book that you chose, its plot, character, themes. So the movie that I chose was a movie called Constantine, starring Keanu Reeves. And I'm not going to be too lengthy, as the prompt indicates, but essentially, Keanu Reeves is somebody that can see demons, and he's an exorcist. As a kid, he tried to kill himself because he didn't understand why he was seeing things, and his parents tried to get what they thought was a psychopathology corrected. But in the film, it's that he can literally see demons. And how this relates to the class is that according to his morality beliefs, which again is basically his set of views on what is right and wrong, he believed that it was wrong for demons or the devil to possess God's children. Um, and so that was his job in life. It was for him to exorcise demons. Um, as a result of him trying to kill himself, though, earlier on in the video, um, he is kind of held away from heaven. And as the story progresses, the Spear Destiny is involved. And the Spear Destiny is actually needed to be used on a psychic that carries the spawn of Satan with the aid of an angel. And all this does occur, and the spawn of Satan is about to come into the world, and the devil, Satan, comes into the plot because he's not ready to give up his reign. And John Constantine decides to make a deal with him to where, because the only way he could get the devil to show up is if he killed himself. That's the only way he could really stop time. And he did this so that he could save the psychic sister who was tricked into killing herself. And in biblical terms and in Catholic terms, the ultimate sacrifice is the only way that you can get around committing suicide, because it's similar to martyrdom. And this gets back into the morality beliefs again, in that idea is a largely older Catholic view. It's not really dogmatic in nature. It is black and white in the Bible, that the only time that it's okay to kill yourself or commit suicide is to save somebody else. And that is truly just. And that's actually how John Constantine saves himself and gets himself a second chance and gets himself the possibility to enter into the gates of heaven. So clearly describe how you feel the film or book you chose relates to the social psychological concept. Again, so morality beliefs, and you start talking about exorcisms and demons. It's pretty, not necessarily cut and dry, but it is very obvious to me. So looking at morality beliefs, if you look at the Catholic rite of exorcism, if you prescribe to that, then you're going to prescribe to the morality beliefs of the Roman Catholic Church. And those are, I won't say they're well known, but they're relatively straightforward, following the Ten Commandments. Things such as, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not murder. Basically, don't lust after your wife, don't lust after other things. There are no other gods before me. That sort of thing. And Ten Commandments aren't just a sort of thing, but it's a kind of a reduction of what the entire Bible is. It's very difficult to do. But, looking at something like religion, it is a collection of historical references, dietary laws in the case of the Judeo-Christian faith, and morality beliefs and a code of ethics to follow. And again, this really does relate to the course because religion has very strong impact. Can have a very strong impact on the social setting, insofar as social identities and how strong they are, which kind of got into this week's reading as well, which is not really related to what we're talking about, but forming groups in terms of groupthink, in terms of brainstorming, those sorts of things. It does impact multiple social psychological concepts aside from the main topic of today, which is morality beliefs. So if you chose altruism, for example, how to carry it. Okay, so we kind of got on there. Okay, so lastly, finally, take time to ensure that your finished product is polished and grammatical. And that's not really possible since we're discussing this with you. It flows well, it looks professional. Okay, well, we can just kind of close on this. So really the big takeaways from this are that the social psychological concept that was discussed was morality beliefs, which, without directly quoting it, means that there are a set of not necessarily cultural norms, but norms and duties and roles that are expected to be followed. The film that I chose for this purpose of this discussion was Constantine, whose basic plot was somebody that had earlier tried to kill himself as a result of a misdiagnosis so far as psychopathology goes. He eventually saves his soul by trading his soul for the soul of the psychic sister who was to bring Satan's son into the world. And the culmination, or the ending really, was a result of the follow through of the moral beliefs, and that the ultimate sacrifice was probably the most selfless act you could probably do. And being selfless, being a selfless act and being martyr-like would lead me to believe that it would be a positive way to follow these moral beliefs. And I think that I've answered most of the questions pretty thoroughly. Hopefully you found this relatively interesting. And if you have any questions, please contact me. Again, it was pleasant talking to you.